On our wedding day, the makeup artist saw that it was being held at a luxury hotel. She suddenly changed the entire look I had previously agreed on. My fiancé chuckled and asked her, "What? Are you trying to make me marry Crayon Shin-chan?" It turned out that this expensive makeup artist was his ex-girlfriend. Seeing how familiar they were with each other, I wiped off the makeup on the spot and called off the wedding. Just as Kevin tried to stop me, Rita tiptoed and kissed him on the lips. Only then did I notice that beneath her mask, she was already wearing a perfectly done, glamorous makeup look. So, this was a wedding hijack. I raised an eyebrow. But stealing a groom isn't all there is to hijacking a wedding. That 700,000 yuan luxury banquet bill, fully paid by the bride's side, I hoped she'd be ready to take that too. Chapter 01. Last night, both of our families gathered to finalize the wedding details. I didn't get to sleep until very late, and I had to wake up early today. So when the makeup artist greeted me, I was still groggy. She walked in and began eyeing the hotel's surroundings. When she saw the gold jewelry and expensive accessories laid out on the table, she paused while unpacking her makeup kit. "Hey, Julia, your husband treats you so well." "Huh? A fancy hotel for the wedding and such flashy gold jewelry really makes people jealous. Must have cost a fortune. You're so lucky to have landed such a generous man." I felt a bit uncomfortable hearing that. All the expenses today were covered by my family. Yet she automatically assumed it was the groom's family who paid. But there was no need to explain anything to an outsider. I just nodded and let it go. Then she suddenly yanked open her kit with force and looked at me with a mocking smirk. "Tell me, Julia, why are women nowadays so obsessed with stealing what belongs to others? Is it in their nature to be so shameless?" To be honest, I was already irritated by these random insults. But there wasn't time to find a new artist now. After she finished my base makeup, I drifted off. I kept my eyes closed the whole time, pretending to rest. After all, she worked for a high-end salon, so I didn't worry she'd steal anything. If she needed me to check anything, I figured she'd ask. But when I opened my eyes again, the reflection in the mirror shocked me. I frowned and was about to ask what she had done to my face. I even started thinking about how to demand compensation. This was a serious professional blunder. Then I looked over and saw her silently giggling. Her shoulders were shaking from trying to hold in laughter, like she was watching a hilarious scene. Something felt seriously off. She was clearly doing this on purpose. I couldn't think of any reason why she'd target me. As I was trying to figure it out, she caught my gaze, then burst into full-blown laughter. "Ha ha ha." She ran to hide behind Kevin, who had just walked in, grabbing the back of his suit. She snickered. "Sorry, Kevin. I didn't mean to laugh. I just never thought Julia's face would suit makeup this much." Then she continued giggling behind her hands. Seeing her use Kevin's name so casually sent a bad feeling straight to my gut. My instincts are usually accurate. This girl knew Kevin, and they were close. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. I furrowed my brows and looked at Kevin. "What's going on? You two already know each other? Is this a wedding or a clown show?" Kevin also looked stunned when he saw my face. He glanced back at the girl but didn't say anything to scold her. My frustration felt like a bucket of cold water had been dumped over it. Kevin leaned back in a chair, looked at the girl, and spoke in a familiar tone. "It was fine the last few times. Why mess up now?" "What? You want me to marry Crayon Shin-chan?" He grinned at her. She shrank her shoulders, stuck out her tongue, and scoffed. "You expect me to do makeup for your new bride? I'm not that magnanimous." Then she gave me a mocking smile, clearly waiting to see me embarrassed. I pulled out my phone and found the number of a backup makeup artist. "Tell her to apologize to me. I'm calling someone else to redo my makeup. I won't go downstairs until I look decent. We'll deal with compensation later." At this point, I didn't care how the two of them knew each other. Today was supposed to be my wedding. My parents had invited important business contacts as guests. I didn't want anything to go wrong at the last minute. Kevin and I met through a blind date. I come from a middle-class family. Kevin's background isn't as solid. He was raised by a single mother and comes from modest means. To be fair, Kevin himself is quite capable. His career has a promising trajectory. But here, in a first-tier city, no house, no car, even with a good salary, doesn't get you very far on the dating market. I agreed to date and marry him because I appreciated his potential and, well, his looks. But I didn't expect that when I spoke up. Kevin would frown and press down on the hand I was using to call someone. Is that really necessary? This is how you look anyway. I let out a sharp laugh, half from anger. Chapter 02. The girl beside him giggled sweetly. Kevin, how can you say that to a woman? You haven't changed at all. Still such a clueless man, even if I were naive. It was obvious now, this girl and Kevin had history. Probably an ex. And even if I didn't recognize her, how could Kevin not? He'd been with me through the entire process, choosing the makeup artist, the trial, the final booking. He never said a word. Was he trying to do his ex a favor? Or was he still not over her? I didn't want to dig deeper. No point in making myself more upset. I grabbed the makeup remover, went to the bathroom, and washed my face clean. Then I called my parents and told them I needed to reconsider the wedding. If we went through with it today, I knew I'd regret it. We hadn't even signed the marriage certificate yet. I didn't bother to hide the call. Kevin heard every word loud and clear. His face darkened almost instantly. The calm, detached look he always wore vanished in a second. Just as he was about to speak, two soft, delicate hands slid around his waist. The girl wrapped her arms around him and said gently, Kevin, if she doesn't want to marry you, I will. Propose to me instead. Didn't you once say that if it wasn't me, you'd marry no one else? And right there, in front of me, she stood on her toes and kissed Kevin on the lips. But I didn't miss the greedy glint in her eyes as she stared at the gold jewelry and lavish wedding gifts on the table. Kevin froze. He turned his head slightly, his gaze filled with hesitation, almost eagerness. When he finally spoke again, there was a strange mix of guilt and excitement in his tone, maybe even he didn't realize it. Let Rita handle the wedding for you today. Let her deal with the mess. You're still my wife. Don't worry. Just go tell your parents. Don't make a scene that'll embarrass everyone. Of course. You can make a scene if you want. Kevin was sure I'd swallow my pride for my parents' sake. He knew they'd invited several prominent business partners today. After speaking, he pulled Rita along and started to leave. That's when I finally remembered her name, Rita. Rita's eyes were full of smug satisfaction. She stared straight at me and curled her lips into a provocative smile, as if she had just won a jackpot of fortune. That's when I noticed, beneath her mask, she already had a full face of delicate makeup. Compared to what she had done on my face, the difference was night and day. Even her hair was styled exactly like the look I had originally chosen. Oh, so this was all planned from the start. Sorry, Julia. I just didn't want to have any regrets. If you want to report me to the studio, go ahead. Looking at her indifferent attitude, I couldn't help but feel furious. Chapter 03. I won't deny it, Rita did piss me off. But I knew that being angry wouldn't solve anything right now. I told my parents everything that had just happened, and they were in complete disbelief. They hurriedly apologized to the guests and rushed upstairs. When they saw I was truly set on not marrying Kevin, they sighed and looked a bit guilty. Sweetheart, we really didn't know that guy was so unreliable. We thought he was decent and worth investing in, but clearly, that's not necessary anymore. Forget it. Our daughter doesn't need to throw herself at someone like him. I let out a breath of relief. I had been worried they'd object, especially since the guests were all high-profile business people. I feared my sudden refusal would cause my parents to lose face. They had originally planned to use the wedding to introduce Kevin to some business connections. Well, no need now. This hotel specialized in mid to high-end banquets. The deposit had already been paid in advance, but the balance was due after the wedding. The families had agreed Kevin's side would pay the deposit. Ours would cover the balance, 700,000 yuan, as part of the dowry. 30,000 for the deposit. 700,000 for the balance. Kevin's mother, wanting to save face, had Kevin sign the contract with the hotel. The contract stated that the balance would be paid by the bride's family, but it didn't include my name. Now that the bride was Rita, Kevin's mother could only go ask her for the money. Kevin called me, saying someone would come pick up the gold and jewelry to take them to Rita. After all, Rita had her hair styled and was just waiting for the accessories. I hung up the call when I heard her smug laughter on the other end and blocked them both. What a joke. That jewelry was paid for by my family. Why should I gift wrap it for Rita? When no one showed up with the items, Kevin got mad at me. He wanted to teach me a lesson. He had the wedding posters, originally of us, taken down, and had them urgently replaced with photos of him and Rita. Even the bride's name was changed to Rita. Originally, he hadn't planned to change any of that. He just wanted Rita to stand in for the ceremony. Now, this was his little warning to me, but he didn't realize it played right into my hands. Now Rita was officially and fully the bride. They wouldn't be able to come after me for any money. I've always been rational. That's why I knew when to cut my losses. Even if I had started to feel something for Kevin. But sunk cost should never determine major decisions. Chapter 04. When Rita saw her own photo with Kevin displayed on the big screen, she looked like she might explode from joy. She posted dozens of updates on her feed and videos, boasting about her luxurious wedding. Rita put on the custom-made wedding dress my parents had ordered for me at a high price. Even though it didn't quite fit, she still came over to flaunt it. Her words were all subtle jabs wrapped in sweetness. Julia, it seems like this dress suits me better than you. Kevin, honestly, how could he not even order the dress in your size? I'll have to talk to him. He really doesn't know how to care for someone. Such a clueless guy. She smirked, seeing I wasn't reacting. She didn't get angry. Oh, by the way, Kevin just brought in a top-tier makeup artist, charges 10,000 yuan per hour. He said there's no way a bride should be doing her own makeup. He's still just like before, never listens to advice. Not frugal at all. Julia, don't take it personally. I know this wedding cost you a lot today. If he keeps acting like that, just call me. I'll scold him for you. Thank you for being so generous today. Julia, you helped Kevin and me fulfill a long-standing wish. Rita giggled behind her hand. Her eyes filled with provocation. Her way of being disgusting was shamelessly obvious. I let out a cold laugh. Looks like Kevin did understand after all. He just didn't care. When I was stuck with that hideous makeup, he said I looked like that anyway. And even the best artist couldn't help me. Now that it's Rita, suddenly he pulls out all the stops. A professional makeup artist? But does he even have the money? Chapter 05. I went downstairs and found a few of my best friends. They were supposed to be my bridesmaids today and stay upstairs with me. But Kevin's family only had his mom around, and there was just too much to handle, so I had them go down to help. Who would have thought Rita would use that chance to sneak in? We pulled the wedding dress right off Rita. I'd rather throw it away than let her wear it. Rita was absolutely furious. Her once smug little face was now full of indignation. Julia, don't you think you're going too far? Kevin paid for all of this. What gives you the right to stop me from wearing it? She really thought Kevin had paid for the dress. That's why she came to flaunt it in front of me. She thought Kevin had finally made it and that she could use their past relationship to knock me out of the picture. That's why she planned all this for today. Thinking about that, I actually started looking forward to what came next. What would she do when she realized she'd totally misread the situation? Things were finally getting interesting. Now stripped of the gown, Rita felt humiliated and tearfully called Kevin. Kevin got the call and rushed upstairs, not even bothering with the guests anymore. The moment he saw Rita crying on the floor, dress torn off, his pupils shrank and his handsome face turned stormy. He stepped forward, took off his suit jacket, and wrapped it around Rita. Then, in a full bridal carry, he kicked open the door and brought her to another dressing room. Before leaving, he shot me a look full of barely restrained rage. Julia, well done. I'm downstairs helping your father stabilize business relations. And this is how you repay me? Fine. Entertain them yourselves. His eyes were full of warning, trying to push me to compromise, to coax him so he'd keep making business contacts for my father. Did he think he was some rare treasure? Did he really believe those guests came because of his bright future as a son-in-law? To cheer Rita up and keep her as his bride, Kevin made a grand gesture. He spent the last 100,000 yuan in his account to get her a new gown. The custom delivery only took 20 minutes. The gown rental alone cost 100,000 yuan for just one day. All that, just to make Rita smile again. While it wasn't as beautiful as mine, it was still quite decent compared to others. Now Rita was even more convinced Kevin was loaded. But Kevin seemed to forget, just earlier, the makeup artist he got for Rita cost 20,000. Now he'd spent the last of his savings. Did he really think I'd cover for him to save face? Yeah, right. Once the gown arrived, Rita finally stopped crying and even acted cute. Kevin. I want to punish you. Kevin's voice softened instinctively. Oh, how do you want to punish me? I called all my girlfriends. I'm so happy they can witness our happiness. She swung her feet while sitting at the makeup table, caressing the luxury gown. Just kidding. I could never actually punish you. I'll punish your wife instead, by having her help with our wedding. Hee hee. I'm so bad, aren't I? She said it just to spite me, and to show off in front of her girlfriends. After learning from Kevin that the bride's family was footing the final bill, Rita told the hotel to add several luxury dishes to each table. Each table had 5,000 yuan in extras, with 20 tables. That added up to 100,000. Kevin chuckled. You've turned wicked. It's time she bleeds a little. She's definitely not as obedient as you. Chapter 06. Kevin meant what he said, to punish me for not being obedient. He really stayed upstairs the whole time, keeping Rita company while she got her makeup done. Even the new makeup artist couldn't help but compliment how sweet the two of them looked together. He thought his actions would unsettle me, make me back down. What he didn't realize was that my parents and I had already explained everything to the guests, and most of them had already left quietly. Out of the original 20 banquet tables, only 3 or 4 were still occupied, guests from Kevin's side. They had no clue what was going on and just sat there confused. The dishes had been ordered in advance, so regardless of how many people left, the agreed number of banquet tables had to be served. And Rita? She had to pay every penny. Kevin finally came downstairs. When he saw how most guests had left, his face darkened. Julia, even if you want to throw a tantrum, shouldn't you at least choose the right place and time? Your parents are okay with you acting like this? Do you even realize how much effort I made today for the sake of your side of the family? Seeing my indifferent expression, he lost his temper. Fine, Julia, you've got guts. Our arguing began to draw attention. Guests looked at each other, no one daring to say a word. My parents looked upset but said nothing. After all, we wouldn't be crossing paths with these people again. No point dragging it out. Rita's makeup was done. The makeup artist came over to collect payment. Since they were a high-end pro stylist brought in last minute, of course they wouldn't wait till the wedding ended to be paid. Kevin told the artist to ask me for the money. Naturally, I refused. The artist, realizing the situation, switched to a much firmer tone and demanded Rita and Kevin pay up directly. Kevin had no choice. He came to me again, this time in a much gentler voice. Julia, come on, stop this. I get that you're upset, but can't we handle this later? Just pay now, okay? You've made your point. Let's not make a bigger mess. Be a good girl, all right? Now he starts to panic. Funny how bold he was just a minute ago. The more nervous they got, the happier I felt. In the end, it was Kevin's mother who paid. When she heard it cost 20,000 yen, her heart bled. Still, when she realized the bride had been switched at the last minute, she didn't object. On the contrary, she thought Kevin had done the right thing. That's how it should be. What kind of wife doesn't use her man's money? Back in our day, a woman like her would have been slapped into obedience. Some lessons just have to be taught. Show her who's boss. To spite me further, Kevin's mom even gave Rita a 5,000 yen red envelope as a gift. A thick envelope, handed over on purpose right in front of me. During the wedding, she clung to Rita's hand and introduced her proudly to every relative in the family. Chapter 07. Kevin's relatives noticed that the bride was clearly not the same person. But all of them silently played dumb, pretending not to notice anything. The wedding ceremony had already been arranged in advance, and although the photos were swapped, it didn't affect much. The ceremony went smoothly, and Rita shamelessly stood next to Kevin, exchanging rings. Even on the wedding night, everyone kept quiet, acting like nothing was wrong. Kevin, whether truly drunk or just faking it, went along with it and spent the wedding night with Rita. My parents were so furious they threw out many of the gifts Kevin had previously given us. Even though the marriage didn't go through, Kevin's behavior was absolutely disgusting. Oddly enough, I wasn't that angry. Kevin had hidden his true self well before, which is why I'd developed feelings for him. But now that the mask was off and his real face was exposed, all those feelings turned into revulsion. Whatever good qualities he once had quickly vanished in my eyes. My parents were afraid to touch a nerve. So they tiptoed around me all day, watching my emotions carefully. Only when they saw I was truly unaffected did they finally breathe a sigh of relief. Kevin didn't call me until after 10 the next morning. His voice was still heavy with hangover fatigue. "You went home last night?" I almost laughed out loud. If I hadn't gone home, did he think I'd watch two shameless people consummate their fake marriage? Hearing my snort, Kevin seemed to realize how ridiculous he sounded. He got defensive, his tone tinged with embarrassment and anger. "Julia, you're still being dramatic." "Huh? Today we need to explain things to the relatives. Get yourself ready and come to the new place. The hotel called me too, asking for the final payment. It was supposed to be your family's responsibility, but since we're now married, I figured I'd go with you to settle it." Kevin clearly had no idea what kind of mess he was really in. "I couldn't help it," I muttered. "You dumbass." And hung up. "Can't afford to pay? That's not my problem." I cheerfully finished my breakfast, then drove to Rita's family store. Time to claim some compensation. Chapter 08. When the store manager saw me, she looked delighted, thinking I had come to settle the remaining balance. "Julia, congratulations on your wedding. Wishing you both an early bundle of joy." Her cheerful blessing felt like a joke. And there was Rita. What a surprise, she actually remembered to show up for work today. She had gone to be a makeup artist, but ended up playing the bride for a whole day. When she saw me, a smug glint flashed through her eyes. She was slowly applying makeup for a client, as if nothing had happened. Judging by how radiant she looked, Kevin must have promised her something big. So even though I'd clearly come to confront her, she didn't look the least bit worried. With a fake smile, I turned to the manager. "Your store's makeup artists, do they also moonlight as substitute brides now?" The manager froze, confused. I didn't waste time and briefly explained what had happened yesterday. The more I talked, the darker her face got. By the end, her smile was barely hanging on. "Rita, is this true? You've been with us for a while. I didn't think you'd make such a mess." According to their store's policy, in situations like this, they're supposed to compensate 10 times the styling fee. Rita forced a bitter smile. "Julia, don't be like that, okay? If you don't want to pay, just say it. No need to throw dirt on me." Seeing that she refused to admit it, the manager let out a sigh of relief. "Julia, could this be a misunderstanding?" Just as I was about to snap back, what kind of misunderstanding would this even be? Someone suddenly yanked my arm forcefully. "Enough. Stop trying to take advantage. I already told you not to go after that poor girl. She was just filling in, no need to ruin her job over a bit of money." "Sorry, manager." My wife got a little carried away. Who else could it be but Kevin? Standing behind me, hearing Kevin's words, the manager instantly looked at me with contempt. "Are you seriously bullying our poor girl because no one's backing her up? You look so classy, but you're just out here trying to get freebies? Your own husband admitted it. What more do you want to say? If you're broke, just say it. You acted so high class before. Pay the remaining balance, every last penny." When I saw the victorious look in Rita's eyes, I finally understood why she was acting so confident. She and Kevin had plotted this together? Chapter 09. What no one expected was that I called the police. When the officers arrived, everyone looked uncomfortable. The store manager was worried about the store's reputation, while Kevin and Rita were clearly panicking. I had photos, videos, footage from yesterday's wedding, and even a shot of the poster with Kevin and Rita on it. They were instantly speechless. One older officer looked at the situation, hesitated to speak, but couldn't help himself. He walked outside and sent a message to his wife. "Honey, I've seen a lot of weird stuff in my decades on the force, but this one really takes the cake. Can't wait to tell you tonight." Kevin finally realized I wasn't throwing a tantrum or playing games. I was dead serious about not marrying him. His previously smug and casual attitude began to shift. In the end, the store had to compensate me 10 times the original cost. After Rita paid the penalty, she was fired. With a mistake like that, she was basically blacklisted in the local industry. Seeing me in such a good mood made her face twist with rage. She had originally wanted to act lovey-dovey with Kevin to rub it in, but he shoved her away. For once, he looked uneasy. "Babe, let's go get the marriage certificate this afternoon." He said, "I've been thinking. I owe you a proper wedding. After I finish a few things, I'll talk to your parents and take you abroad for our honeymoon." He looked at me, nervous. It had finally hit him, I really wasn't paying the hotel balance. I smirked and pointed behind him, helpfully reminding him, "Your wife's waiting for you back there. Don't mix us up. Hope you enjoyed the wedding night. May you two have lots of kids." Chapter 10. Rita was sued, and Kevin was dragged into it too. The hotel, tired of waiting for the final payment, sent a legal team and took them both to court. When the hotel first asked Rita for the money, she was totally clueless. Then she saw the contract and immediately tried to distance herself. She wanted to say Kevin had married me, not her. But when she saw the wedding footage and photos taken by the hotel staff, she choked. Not a single word came out. Panicked, she rushed to Kevin. Kevin, meanwhile, was in a full-blown crisis. Because he had planned to marry me, my family had introduced him to a lot of clients. My parents were genuinely planning to support him as their son-in-law and had given him access to many resources. Now, word had spread that the marriage was off. Clients were backing out. They ignored his calls or gave him the runaround, never agreeing to any business. His boss's attitude worsened, and Kevin finally got scared. He started calling all the contacts he had gathered from the banquet, trying to revive deals. But no one gave him the time of day. He had only gotten those contacts through my family. And now that he'd burned that bridge, and so publicly, no one wanted to help. The hotel ramped up the pressure. Kevin completely fell apart. When Rita came to see him, he was still on the phone, stressed and scratching his head. She was startled to see him like that. In desperation, Kevin sold the apartment he'd worked so hard to buy. Since he needed money fast, he lost over 300,000 yuan in the sale. The moment the money arrived, he wired it to the hotel. Chapter 11. Kevin's mom found out he had sold the marital home, which meant she had no place to stay in the city anymore. Afraid of being mocked by relatives if she returned to the countryside, she insisted on squeezing into Kevin's tiny rental apartment. But with poor living conditions, even a mother and son are bound to clash. After yet another argument with Kevin, his mom stormed over to my house, full of resentment, and let loose a torrent of verbal abuse the moment she walked in. Some neighbors recognized her but didn't know what had happened between our families. Trying to be helpful, they knocked on our door. My mom was home. After a month of bottling up her frustration, she finally snapped and started fighting fire with fire. Honestly, I have to admire her. She used to be a badass woman, and the way she tore into Kevin's mom with her vocabulary was art. At first, she still felt a little embarrassed arguing in public. But once her temper took over, she roasted Kevin's mom for 3 straight hours without repeating herself once. Kevin's mom, humiliated, stormed off. I only found out what had happened when I got home and saw my mom in a great mood. What really shocked me, though, I must have jinxed it. Rita was pregnant. She had added me on WeChat before, but I blocked her. After the pregnancy, she made a new account and added me again, dropping subtle hints to show off her good fortune. Having lost her job, Rita clung to Kevin even tighter. Kevin's mom had initially opposed the relationship, but now that there was a wedding and a baby on the way, she had no choice but to accept Rita for the sake of having a grandson. Kevin, for whatever reason, seemed to genuinely care about Rita. After hearing she was pregnant, he formally proposed. They ended up getting married and registering their marriage. Chapter 12. But once they got married, they finally saw each other's true colors. Kevin realized why Rita had come crawling back. She only cared about money, not about him. He grew resentful. He had started a new job, and whether it was truly demanding or not, he was barely ever home. Needless to say, he didn't care much for Rita either. Rita, meanwhile, finally saw the truth too. Kevin's whole successful man act was just that, an act. The rich wife fantasy she dreamed of, slipping farther and farther away. Kevin started disappearing for days, and Rita grew increasingly paranoid and suspicious. Their fights got uglier and uglier. Kevin's mom, of course, always sided with her son, mocking Rita, implying she was cheap and desperate for a man. It stressed Rita so much she started having abdominal pain. But she knew if she lost the baby, She'd have no value left in that family, so she endured it all in silence. I found out all of this from one of Kevin's younger cousins, a girl who used to be closest to me among his relatives. She was supposed to attend our wedding, but couldn't get time off due to finals. When she found out the wedding had been called off, she was really upset. Every now and then, she messages me to share updates about Kevin. I rarely reply, but she doesn't seem to mind. Chapter 13. The next time I saw Kevin was at a restaurant. He was on another blind date. The woman was blunt. She didn't care that Kevin was divorced with a kid, no car, no house, and a difficult mother. She said it all to his face. Kevin tried to keep his cool until he saw me. Maybe his pride kicked in or something. But suddenly he puffed up and sneered. "And what about you? You're so great. A leech of a brother and an ex you dumped just 3 days ago." The woman was shocked at how rude he was. Infuriated, she grabbed a glass of water and splashed it right in his face. Kevin didn't say another word. He quietly asked the waiter for some napkins and calmly wiped himself down. Then, he looked at me. His eyes were full of mixed emotions: regret, bitterness, sorrow, and maybe even a hint of guilt. But I didn't care. At least he had the decency not to come talk to me. By the time I finished my meal with my friend and looked back, Kevin was already gone. Funny thing, Kevin and I had met for the first time at this very same restaurant. And now, we crossed paths again. But all I felt was indifference. Maybe this is what they call a toxic fate. Side story, Kevin. Chapter 1. The first time a blind date failed. I noticed the girl at the next table. She was well-spoken and graceful. She really caught my eye. What surprised me even more was that she came up and spoke to me. That's how we met. To be honest, I had a strong desire to conquer her. She had everything: background, ability, looks. She outshined me in every possible way. At first, I thought I could handle that gap. But slowly, I realized I wasn't as generous as I imagined. Every time I talked to clients at work, they would always somehow bring up her father, praising me for landing such a great wife. It made me feel small. I always thought I was capable. Even without Julia, I could have secured those partnerships. I just lacked the connections, not the skills. But no one saw it that way. Even my boss would compliment me for choosing the right woman when praising my performance. It frustrated me. The more it happened, the more complicated my feelings toward Julia became. I constantly felt inferior to her and her family. When we were planning the wedding, I had already promised my mom we'd hold the banquet back in our hometown. But Julia disagreed. She insisted her family would pay and it had to be in a fancy city hotel. Just the wedding alone cost hundreds of thousands. And in that moment, I realized just how different we were. Not just in terms of wealth, but in worldview. Chapter 2. I don't even know what I was thinking at that moment when Rita kissed me. I felt flustered, but also smug. Seeing Julia lose her temper, something she rarely did, gave me a secret thrill. See? I'm desirable too. And more importantly, I knew Rita had left me before because I didn't meet her standards. So her coming back gave me a twisted sense of victory. Something Julia never gave me. So, like an idiot, I gave in to Rita's demands. I thought Julia would feel threatened after this, that she'd start clinging to me like other women, questioning my love, worrying about losing me. But I miscalculated. The moment Julia called the police, I finally realized how stupid I had been. I admit, I was terrified, scared of the debt, scared that Julia would really leave me. But the worst still happened. Rita got pregnant, and I had no choice but to marry her. Looking at the woman I once swore I'd make regret. Now carrying my child. Now my wife. My feelings were a mess. And that mess was why we were doomed to divorce. I knew she was cheating on me with some sleazy businessman, but I didn't care. I knew that guy. He was trouble. She'd never get a happy ending with him. Sure enough, she couldn't hold on to it. And she asked for the divorce. She didn't want custody, didn't want money, just wanted it over with. I agreed immediately, maybe because I knew her future would be ugly, and I wanted front row seats for the fall. I didn't love her. But no man can accept being cheated on, not even by a fling. Chapter 3. Rita was stabbed to death. Not by the wife of the sleazy businessman. She had been two-timing multiple men, and one of them found out. He had her killed. Just like I said, no man accepts being cheated on, not even if you're just a side piece. When I found out Rita was dead, I wasn't even surprised. I just thought about how my kid had lost his biological mother. My mom pushed me to go on blind dates again. She didn't want her grandson growing up without a mother. I never expected to see Julia again. She was still so brilliant. While I was like a rat in the gutter, I knew I had no right to approach her. No right to pretend like nothing had happened. I also knew that the biggest problem between us was my own twisted, pathetic pride. I don't blame anyone else. So I left, quietly, before she noticed me. I guess that was the last shred of dignity I could give myself.